Hey guys, sorry we're running a few minutes late. We're going to work on this 4runner again. I'm going to at least get the valves set on the bench, adjust the valve clearances on the bench. They will change very slightly when the heads are installed on the vehicle, but it'll be quite difficult for you guys to see me adjusting the valves on the vehicle. And it's a very time consuming process. In the vehicle, it's a little less so on the bench. So that's what we're hoping to get done tonight. If we have time, we have about 2 hours tonight. If we have time, we'll start on the assembly process, but for the most part, we will be adjusting the valves on the bench. Those of you that missed last night, it's a 1996 Toyota 4runner with a 3.4 liter V6. Had bad head gaskets. We found coolant in 2 cylinders, but I think only 1 cylinder was actually caused by the head gasket failure. I did pick up a knock sensor harness today from Toyota and factory spark plugs. I still have not opened the box for my gaskets to verify that they are correct, so we're hoping that those are correct as well. If you have not adjusted the valves on one of these, I'll have Valerie switch me over to the other camera here in a second, and I'll show you why this is such a big process compared to other vehicles. And Valerie is with us today, so you're switching cameras, reading comments like normal.
Hi.
Okay, so we're gonna go to the left camera.
Yep.
So I just have this cylinder head sitting on a set of homemade stands. I borrowed these from the engine shop. I don't have a set of my own, but they are just some centering punches. I don't know if you can see that or not. Can you see that in camera? Or are we too close with the camera?
The big piece of metal?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. The piece underneath it.
Oh, the legs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking at.
So if we're doing this on the bench, you're going to want something to support the cylinder head off of the bench, because when we reinstall the camshafts, the valves will open, and if you have it laying flat on the bench, they're going to hit the bench and bend the valves. So either put some blocks on the edges of the head, 2x4s, or build a stand if you have a stand. This is used for putting the clamp around here to take off the valve spring keepers at the engine shop, but I figured it'd work okay for today. Let me let me put the GoPro on my head. That may be easier for part of this, and we'll go from there. You may have to tell me if I need to point this camera down a little more, Valerie. Can you see the cylinder head there?
Well, is that how you're going to be standing?
Like this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it looks good.
Okay, let me grab one impact. Where's it at?
Hey, you. Easy when you're looking around.
Okay, so what we're going to have to do is pull all these bearing caps back off. I put them on there when I clean this cylinder head. I just put it in our hot tank, but I wanted to clean everything all at once, so I just loosely put those back on there, not torqued down. But to get the camshafts back in, we will have to remove those. But this right here is the bucket that goes over the valve spring, and then it has a little indentation, or actually it's a bump out that sits on the valve. And then in the top is a shim that is changeable, and they're different thicknesses, and that is so we can adjust our valves. So this is not a hydraulic lash adjuster. It is not adjustable like a regular rocker arm would be. You actually have to measure this, pop the shim out, measure clearance, pop the shim out, measure the shim, and then find the appropriate shim that will make the clearance correct. And you have to do that for each one of these cylinders, and it's very difficult to get that shim out while the camshaft is installed. So if I have more than 2 cylinders that need to be done, I typically pull the camshaft out. If it's only 1, then I will use a special service tool to pop the shim out inside the vehicle. So I'm going to pop these bearing caps off. And make a little noise, Valerie.
Okay.
What'd you do?
I twisted the knob the wrong direction.
Sorry if you just got deafened. Probably not. I'm not making a lot of noise because
No.
they're not super tight.
No, that one wasn't too bad.
Although I am noticing that my battery's getting weak.
It only took me 24 hours to forget which way to twist the knob.
And I also need to find the one bolt that I dropped behind the engine. We'll have to do that before we go back together. And I wish that you guys could smell this. If you ever taken apart a high mileage engine before, or an engine that's been hot, or I don't know, sometimes even normal engines, they just have a weird burnt oil smell. And this one smells quite strong like that.
Does it actually have a lash? I'm not sure if that was for you or
Well,
for Chad.
the valve clearance, some people call it valve lash, but the clearance between the shim and the cam lobe is what we're going to be measuring. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all of these buckets back in. I have them in order. I'll have to rotate this. I guess I can do it. They're going to be kind of 90 degrees off. This is the front. And one thing we want to do first is either lubricate these with oil, or I'm actually just going to spray the cylinder head with some WD-40. I will put some thicker assembly grease or oil on the journals before the final assembly.
Why do you have to do that?
What's that?
Why do you have to do that? That's me asking.
Because we don't want any metal on metal contact,
How come?
because it'll destroy the metal. And when we first start up the engine, I'm looking for my WD-40. When we first start up the engine, it'll take a second for the oil to build up to the top of the engine. And if we don't have any protection in there, then it's just going to be metal on metal contact and it'll start scraping itself apart. So I buy a WD-40 in a gallon bucket, put it in a spray bottle. I'm just going to spray this down. I will use actually a real assembly lubricant when I go back together. And then I got to find the right camshaft because I put those in the hot tank as well. Let's see. That looks like that one. And this one should be the match. Yes. Okay, so these are 2 camshafts. Now I'm going to put these shims in. I'm just going to drop them in on top of the valve. And I'll have to pull the camshafts back out of this to install the cylinder heads in the vehicle because the head bolts are underneath the camshaft. But at least, you know, out here on the bench, it's a little easier to see what I'm doing. I don't think it makes that big of a difference after you torque it. I think I've, seen maybe 1/1000th of change as you torque it, as the head, forms down to, let's put that in the wrong spot, as it forms down to match the block surface, or as it kind of twists with that tightening torque. It's obviously not supposed to. We did get these cylinder heads machined. They are flat. He only had to take off a few thousandths, so it wasn't that warped. It was just the gasket had failed. Okay. Now what we can do is we don't have to put both camshafts in at once. We can just do this first one. It'll be a little easier to turn the engine over this way, and then we can move on to the other one afterwards. Put a little bit more lubricant on that piece there. Oh, and I pulled the torque specs up, but I forgot what the cam journal was already. I may have to have Valerie pull that up.
Pull what up?
In the Chrome browser, there's a Protoman tab, and I have it open to the engine specs, I think. It'll be the tab on the left. There should be 2 tabs open. You see it?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was looking down at the other thing.
And it has tightening torques.
I don't know, there's 2 of them.
What's
Let me
that?
see this one. I'm looking. Is it the picture or the chart?
The chart.
Okay. And left display with Lumix? Or am I just reading it to
You're
you?
just reading it to me.
Oh no, okay.
So go down to the spot that says camshaft bearing caps or camshaft journal caps. I'll grab the socket I need.
Should it be at the top?
Maybe all the way at the bottom.
Oh. Say that again. Camshaft what?
Camshaft bearing caps.
Camshaft bearing cap. I'm looking. Sorry, wearing my glasses, not my contacts. I didn't know I was going to have to be reading charts. Boy, I don't know what you're talking about. Camshafts, what?
Oh, we'll need a 17 as well to turn over that camshaft.
I see camshaft bearing cap bolt.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what you said?
Yeah, camshaft bearing caps. And what does it say for the tightening spec? There'll be normally 3 numbers. There'll be like a number and then a comma and then a number in brackets or parentheses.
Are you sure I'm on the right page? I clicked there's no numbers to tell you.
Yeah, I'll be right there.
Like the 1216, is that a number that you're looking for? Oh, hi. You get to see me with my blanket.
Where were you at? Camshaft bearing cap bolts, the top one there, 12 foot-pounds.
Oh. Well, I just said that and you didn't answer. 12.
12. 12 is the correct answer.
Well, then what's the little blue one for?
If you click that, it'll take you to the bottom of the table because there's probably a sequence I'm supposed to tighten this in.
Oops, I'm closing all my windows. Oh.
If you don't torque this down before you measure everything, your measurements are going to be off. And then when you actually do torque it down in the vehicle, I actually don't know if I want to tighten that one all the way down. It's kind of scary. I feel like it's going to strip out. And I don't really feel like helicoiling these. But if you don't have them torqued down, the gap will be slightly larger than it should be, and you'll get inaccurate readings. You'll adjust it appropriately to that looseness, and then when you actually put the camshafts back in and tighten it down, it'll be too tight and potentially have tight valves or valves that aren't sealing all the way and burn a valve or have a rough idle. I'm just going to rotate this over a few times, make sure everything's good there.
That other camera's kind of a cool point of view.
You know, I'll leave it on that one real quick. I got to take my camera off and grab another tool that I forgot.
Your hands look really clean.
My hands look clean?
Yeah. Must have been washing them a lot.
Only for a short period of time.
Or maybe it's just the lighting, but your hands look really bright and clean.
And what I'm looking for is a special service tool for adjusting the valves when it's in the vehicle. If I can find it. I always have to search for it. And then I also forgot to grab the shims. So we do a lot of Toyota work, so I have an assortment in 2 different sizes for Toyota. So if we need shims, I should have them in stock. Okay, almost ready to go.
I'm gonna put on main lumix so we can see you tucking it in your pants.
Okay. So I don't know which camera angle will be best for this, but we need to measure each one of our bearing, our cam lobe clearances. Now what you're going to want to do is there's a specific order that the computer recommends if it's inside the vehicle. You know, they tell you to go to top dead center, measure 2 of them on this head and 2 of them on the other head, and then rotate it like 2/3 of a turn. What we're going to do is we're just going to make sure the cam lobe is up off of the bucket and measure them that way. And I need a clean rag. And then what I do is I make sure that I have this valve cover sealing surface nice and clean because I'm going to write on that surface. So I have a regular set of feeler gauges. I usually have a set of the go, no go. They have 2 different thicknesses on them, but I seem to have misplaced it in my mess of tools. So we are just going to measure them with these ones. Man, that thin one's going to break. So a 6 slides right in there. So bump up to an 8. 8 feels a little snug on this one, so I'm betting we can't fit the 9 in there. Same on that cylinder, or that valve. Let me try the 9. If the 9 won't fit, then we are going to write down an 8. Oh, that 9 fit, but not in this cylinder, our valve. Let's try a 10. So we have an 8 and a 9. And I normally measure them in SAE, but that's just my preference. So I just write down, oh, that marker's not going to work. Let me grab another Sharpie. My other Sharpie is gigantic, so that is an 8, and we have a 9. I forgot to look up the specs, but I think the intakes are 8 to 12, and the exhaust are like 10 to 14. I'll have to double check on the computer. But I go through all of them and write them all down before making any decisions on if I need to adjust them. So rotate it over. Now this cam lobe is up. And we'll go ahead and measure again. A couple of these we can get out of the way. Now, as long as you can get a measurement, then it's pretty easy to calculate what size shim you need to go to next. If for some reason you have 0 clearance or 0 lash between this and that, and it's making contact, then it makes it a little more difficult. You're going to have to guess at least once and then remeasure and hope you got it close. So those both, 9 fits in fine. 11 fits. I have a feeling that the one valve is not going to fit the 12. Nope, 12 does not fit there. Barely fits there. Let's try a 13. 13 fits. 14 does not. I already forgot my numbers. This one was a 13. What was the other one, 11? Valerie, do you remember? Yeah, the 11 just barely fits.
I got distracted by the comments, sorry. I'm being
11.
nosy and reading everyone else's conversation.
Rotate this over. Do it one more time.
The doctor has a question for you.
Yes.
I have a question. Can you tell me if I need an oxygen sensor? My engine light is on.
Yes, it needs an oxygen sensor, and then it also needs whatever is causing the engine light. You guys didn't know that we got sponsored by AutoZone and Dorman for this video. Just kidding. Okay.
And WD-40.
And WD-40.
That gallon was sent to you for free.
Okay, a 12 won't fit in either one of them. 11 fits in this one. So, as you can see, this becomes a very time-consuming process, especially when you're bent over the fender and trying to reach to the back of the engine bay. It can be very annoying to do.
I think this would make a more interesting, like one of them ASMR videos of you just sticking them little metal pieces in there.
So should I quit breathing heavily into the microphone and then be quiet?
I think you should do that anyway.
I can't. I just breathe heavy. I can't help it. Okay, now since I forgot the spec, I have to go back to the computer and look at it.
Oh, sorry. Am I supposed to look something up?
No, I can.
This one?
Yeah.
Can you not look at me at that angle? That's really awkward.
I hold my head up like this. Okay, intake is 6 to 9. Exhaust is 11 to 14.
You didn't think I could find that information? Hey, you get what you pay for.
214. So if we go down the list and see which ones are between 6 and 9, since we're working on the intake only, we only have 2 valves that are in spec. So now, since I have so many that are not in spec, I'm going to pull the camshaft. But if we only had one that was not in spec, then I would use the special service tool. This one is from Snap-on, or Blue Point. It's a YA8825. We got a funny shaped lever with a short end and a long end, and those are just spacers. And then we have some weird pliers. And what you do, I'm not sure which angle will be the best for this, Valerie. If the GoPro will work, then great. If not, then you might have to switch to the other camera.
I'm on the other camera right now. I'm just waiting to see where you put your hands.
So this wrench, or this set of pliers, will go in here, and you go next to the cam lobe, squeeze down and rotate it, and that opens up the valve. So now this tool is holding the valve open, but we still can't get the shim out of there until we install this tool. It's gonna be hard to see no matter what, but this tool goes down in there next to, I'll just pull one of these out to show you. Can you see where I'm pointing on this?
Yes.
So we're gonna set this tool right on the edge of that bucket, between the bucket and the camshaft. And that's gonna leave this shim free to rotate so we can pop it out. But we have to be on the inside most likely, otherwise we can't get the shim. Sometimes you can do it, but it's very tight to pop out between the cylinder head and the tool. So it goes in there like that, holds it open. And sometimes the shim will pop right out. Need a magnet. Where's my magnet?
Normally it's in your pocket.
Well, I'm wearing Corey's t-shirt and I didn't get a t-shirt with a pocket. Okay. We'll just grab another screwdriver. So we have to kind of fish them out of there. It's kind of a pain. That's why if I have multiples, I don't do it this way. But that will come out of there, that little shim. But since we're doing multiples, we'll just put that back in. It's a lot easier on the 3-liter Toyotas that are single overhead cam. They have a lot more room and the shims are larger. But I'm going to go ahead and take all of these back off. And we'll pull this camshaft out and see if we can make some adjustments to these shims.
Yes.
What is that?
They want me to tell you to remove your shirt, throw it away, and go get one with a pocket. Time to man up.
Who said that?
Eric.
Well, that might upset some people.
I don't
Corey
think he
made this
that.
shirt with his bare hands. He told me that he weaved the cotton and everything.
He grew the cotton himself. Or wait, is it cotton?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's cotton.
He grew the cotton. And then he loomed it? Is that what a loom is?
Yeah, ran it through a loom.
Yeah.
Okay, so it'll be a little difficult. Where's my...
You said you borrowed that stand from the machine shop, right?
Yeah.
PJ was saying, I like the cylinder head stand that you made.
Yeah, I was going to make one, but he already had several built, so I just used his. And what it is it's a tapered punch welded to a piece of C-channel. So pretty simple to do, and I just stuck it through two of the head bolt holes. You don't want to stick it through the spark plug holes, probably tear up the threads. Okay, now that I did that, I sprayed them off to get the WD-40 off of there because I'm going to have to write on these shims.
Let me find you a smaller marker.
No, that's all right. I'm not sure which view will give you the best look at what I'm doing.
I switched back to head cam.
So there's a little cutout in the side of the bucket.
Bring it up closer to you, maybe. There you go.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
She's right next to my face now.
Can you do it holding it up to your forehead so we can really see it?
So you can either pop a screwdriver through that opening. Sometimes I find that if you just take an air hose and blow air to there, now you have to watch it because it will launch the shim if you're not careful. But sometimes that'll unstick it if it is stuck. We pull the shim out, and then that's just what the bucket looks like. So we're actually going to change the shim to a different size shim. So we have to measure the shim first. Let me wipe it down again. And you can measure it a couple different ways. I'm actually have in my shopping cart on Amazon a digital thickness gauge. Oh, wrong button here. Is the battery dead on that guy? Battery's dead. Okay, we're not going to use that one. I do have more batteries somewhere, but if you have the digital calipers, you can use those. They're not the most accurate or the easiest to use, but they get you close enough.
Kelly says just eyeball it.
Just eyeball it?
Mm-hmm.
This one didn't quite zero. There we go.
So technically, Chad is doing a head job.
Uh-huh.
You want
So
me to
you
change the title on this video for you? You get more views.
Well, the people that jumped in right away, they thought we were doing the same thing because I didn't change the title from last night. So using a regular mechanical dial caliper, we are at 0.120. But if you wanted to be a little more precise, you could use the micrometer. Apparently I didn't wipe these down after the last vehicle I did this on because they're still a little oily. Rust prevention. And see, I don't like that this shows a different number than that. I should make sure that this zeroes out. That zeroes out. Do I have the measuring device? Yeah. It's probably accurate. This is probably more accurate than the other one. But with this, I'm at 0.115. So what I'll do is I don't put the 0 on the shim. I'll just write 115 on it. 115. And as long as you're using the same tool to measure the old shims and the new shims, it really doesn't matter, how close the tool is, as long as it's repeatable. And then let me slide this head back. Need more benches. And I don't know, PJ probably doesn't even have one of these kits at Toyota. You guys probably have to sell them by the part number from the book. This is a complete assortment of shims. Can you see that?
Yes.
So all different size shims in this assortment. And we were at 11 thousandths. Spec for that cylinder is 6 to 9 thousandths. Our shim was 115. So we need to go a little bit thicker on the shim to reduce this down to the 6 to 9 range. So we could go down 2 or 5. So we need a 112 or 117 to a 1120, or not a 1120, a 120. So I'm just looking through my shim assortment. Some of these I have marked already.
Is it like engraved on there, or are you just trusting that people put them in the right spot?
It's stamped, and my handwriting's on a lot of them.
And you trust yourself?
Yeah.
That you labeled them? Okay.
We'll do the 118 and a half. We'll double check it and make sure that that measurement's correct.
Question.
Yes.
How long have you been a mechanic?
Since,
How many years have you been?
as a career,
Yeah.
2016, or 2006. 2006. So
I like how you answered that question. And in that time, how many head jobs have you done?
how many head gasket replacements have I done? A lot.
That's why I like you. Yes.
I'm gonna stab myself. Might be easy with the razor blade. That way I really stab myself.
Yeah. Give us a good show. You have like a machete or something you can use.
So moving on to the next one, I'm gonna measure this one. We are at the same 115. So I will write down 115 on that one as well. I always write it down on there just in case I can use one of these shims in a different location on the cylinder head. Because if I can mix and match the shims to get everything in spec, then I don't have to spend any money buying shims. Because if you buy these shims from Toyota, they're probably $12 to $15 a piece. And especially if somebody does a valve job on this engine and they don't face or grind the stem of the valve the same amount that they ground off the face, all of the valves are going to be tight and you'll have to replace every single shim. It can cost you several $100s. So we had a 115, we're at 10. So we need a 116 to a 119. I have one in here that says 119.
Someone get an ambulance on standby.
For me using the razor blade or a
Yeah.
machete.
Or a machete.
Okay, so those ones I'm going to set aside. 8 and a 9, those are in spec. Now we have a 13 and 11 over here. I'll pop this one out of here.
This is from PJ. My stream froze, so I didn't get to answer, LOL. I've never done a head gasket on one of these engines.
Now I'm assuming that you've done head gaskets or engine rebuilds on the newer ones, but a lot of those have hydraulic lifters. I don't know if the 4-liter Toyota engine has a hydraulic system or not. I actually haven't had one of those engines apart, but I do lots of these ones. Okay. And using a micrometer, I don't know if you guys can even see the writing on there.
Nope.
Okay. You'll just have to trust me. This one is a About 114.5. Let's not write that big. 114.5. So that would actually be not a 0.5, but it'd be 0.1145. But it just makes more sense in my head to do it like that. So I need to drop down quite a bit. I need to go at least 4. So a 118.5 would work up to a 120-ish. I have a 120, so I'm going to drop this into there. Call that one good.
Is that an erasable permanent marker that you're using?
Yeah, when everything's covered in oil, it's erasable. And this one we were at 11.
Remember, here in the Rust Belt, those trucks are in a scrapyard with holes in the frame. PJ?
Yeah, we went to Toyota today to get the knock sensor harness, and they had a frame sitting outside brand new on the pallet. Thinking, well, at least one tech's gonna be busy all week. Okay, another 115. So more than likely these are all the original factory shims. This has probably not been done before. They get them pretty close at the factory, and they don't have to have a bunch of different sizes. I typically see like a 111 to a 119 when I do these. So I have a whole bunch of those. So we need to go at least 2 thousandths thicker, if not a little more. And see, this is where you potentially run out of some part numbers. Like the one I need is actually missing. So we will just jump up to a 116. No, that won't be enough. Let's try this one.
Anything 2010 and older is in the scrap heap here, Eric.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. New vehicles are expensive. So I just drive old stuff. And when I say old, like our newest vehicle is a 2007 Toyota Highlander hybrid. So this one is a 120. My other one was a 115. If I go down 5 on that, I will be at the 6 thousandths, which will be in spec still.
Question.
So I probably need to order more of these shims that I'm out of. Yes.
Part number for shim kit. Rumor has it you can use on Mazdas as well. Francisco.
I have not tried it on Mazdas. Let me see if I have the part number. It's on the bottom, so I have to put the lid back on. Nope, not on the bottom. I don't know if it's much of a part number. It says 03-1100, diameter 28 millimeter. And the company...
28 ml?
MM.
What?
28 mm.
Oh. You get what you pay for.
The brand is Metelli, Mettelli. I believe that the 3 liters take a 32 millimeter shim, so I have that shim kit as well. This will work on a lot of the 4 cylinders, the 2.2 liter, or the 2.4 and the 2.7 liter Tacoma motors as well. And then these little shims, I don't have an assortment for those, but those are out of the Lexus V8 that I was talking about last night. Okay, so next we put the camshaft back in and hope that our adjustments were correct.
Sir, can I get my car inspected? That's not a hole in my cab. It's a moonroof. That was Jay.
We don't have state inspections either, but that's probably because most of our vehicles don't rot away, so they remain fairly safe. Like, for a vehicle here to be unsafe, it requires quite a bit of neglect from the owner.
You should have seen the frame and bed in my 07 Tundra. Luckily, I have strings that I pulled to get my new bed. PJ.
Well, I did find rust in the frame. Those aren't the right ones.
I thought those were watch batteries.
Oh, in the corner? Did you comment that or someone else?
Someone else.
They do look like the correct battery for my digital caliper. I was trying to put the exhaust bearing caps on the intake.
Anytime I do shim under bucket valves and a head job at the same time, I cut the valve seats so all the stems are long, then grind each puck on the valve grinder. Ever done it that way?
No, I don't have a belt grinder here. I know that some people have used a grinder to grind the shims down, but it's time consuming. So we typically have what we need in our shim kit.
They make an adapter to grind the pucks shims on the valve grinder.
Mm.
And that was all, Eric.
I don't have a valve grinder in-house either. Let's torque those back down. I think this one didn't tighten all the way. Okay. So when someone quotes you 6 or 7 hours to adjust the valves on a V6 Toyota 4Runner or Toyota pickup, this is why. It's not an easy task, especially getting down to them, all the stuff you have to take apart. And if the shim is underneath the bucket, like on the Lexus, you have no choice but to pull the camshaft. Was that beep really loud in everyone's ear?
No, I was reading a comment.
Oh.
Why the heck am I watching this when I do this for a living? I think we all have problems.
Quarantine. That's the reason. Okay, so I'm going to wipe my marks off of the 2 end cylinders because I didn't touch these shims, so I shouldn't have to clean those ones off. And I just write them on here and then use a little bit of brake clean and a rag, erase them, and hope that they fell into spec correctly. I do rotate the engine over just to make sure that that shim is fully seated in the bucket, which is why I was rotating the camshaft.
Chad's doing this because AutoZone told him the scanner said so. That was Jay.
Okay, a 6 fit in this one, but not a 7. So we are in spec, luckily. We're not too tight.
I'm here to provide moral support because I feel bad for Chad right now, PJ. I come for the comments, Jay.
Oh, don't lie. You know that you ditched your family to hang out with us. You said you had a really important webinar to watch. You were learning all kinds of new things. Okay, an 8 thousandths does not fit. The 7 does. So that one is in spec. Let's rotate this over. Well, the 7 didn't fit. I'm hoping the 6 will. Because if it does not fit,
Then we have to watch you do that again.
just on that one cylinder, it's too tight.
Moral support is better than athletic support.
Okay, 7.
Can't relate.
8 just barely fits. So this one is an 8. This other one is too tight. It's less than 6. So let's see what it actually is. A 5. It's kind of a bummer. I think that was in that range of shim that we are missing.
Okay, I gotta go and be productive. Later, folks. Hope the head job has a happy ending. Eric.
See you later. Thanks for watching. Okay, so I only have one that's out of spec. So I'm just going to try and pop this one shim out of here. Let's rotate this around where I can get in there.
Don't tuck your chin so much. There you go.
What's that?
I was telling you not to tuck your chin too much.
Oh.
Because then our angle's too low.
Then I can't see anything. Deal with it.
A little background ambiance.
Okay, where'd my magnet go? And this is how you typically have to do them in the vehicle, is one at a time with that tool. It adds a little bit of effort into each cylinder. So that was the 305, that's in metric. I'm missing the 300, kind of a bummer. Let me measure this one, see what we're at.
Is that magnet the one you got from Summit?
It's from Summit?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
It says BG Pro. Well, no, I collect them. I've got like a dozen on my toolbox.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you got all of those dozen from Summit, from your brother.
So that is a 120. Let me see what I have in this stack over here. It's all 113s. So I really need the 118 that I put in this cylinder. But I don't want to take that one apart. Is that a 116? That'll get us closer. That's a 115 and a half. Well, I'd rather be a little loose than tight. If they're too tight, they're likely to burn. If they're a little loose, they might make a little noise, but not a big deal for me. If this was a customer vehicle, I'd probably order the right shim from Toyota, and we'd have to wait a couple days, or see if the machine shop can grind one down for me. Rotate it around again, and we'll double check it. Eight fits, 9 fits pretty tight. Hopefully the 10 doesn't fit. No, the 10 does not fit. So we're at a 9. Still in spec. Since the other cylinder is tighter by 1/1000, that valve will open up slightly sooner, but not enough of a difference to matter here. Okay. So we have 6 valves done, and this is a 24 valve engine. So the next question I have for you guys is, do you want to watch me do this the rest of the way through or not? Valerie's like, end it.
If not, is that the end of the video?
Yeah. Because
and then it's fixed completely.
no, then it's not fixed completely. I still have to do it. Well, you guys let me know. If we start losing interest, then we'll end this one for tonight. I will get the rest of the valve clearances set, and then we'll continue with the installation of the cylinder heads probably tomorrow.
We got one negative, but I forgot what the question was.
If we want to end it for the night.
Oh. How long have we been on? Oh, it's been about an hour.
Yeah, we have 2 hours to spend on this tonight. I'm gonna leave that on.
Perhaps we just drink beer and party?
Yeah. Go ahead and grab some beer. Come on by. Or is that your comment?
No, that wasn't my comment. All I brought was water.
Okay, I'm going to install the other camshaft. Now, it's not totally necessary to line this up if you're just adjusting the valves on the bench, but I'm going to line up the marks anyways. On the back of the gear, look at this one since it's off, Can you see those 2 marks, Valerie?
Y-
There's 2 dots right there.
yes.
There's 2 dots there. There's 2 darks on the other gear. If you did not pin this gear, that gear rotated. And if you line these up, cam timing is going to be off. So we're going to line up that with that because I did pin the spring-loaded portion of that gear.
So if you didn't pin it, how would you get it lined back up then?
You'd have to put the camshaft in a vise or a fixture to hold it, and get that spring rotated back over, get the pin, the bolt back through it, and then line it up. I've had a lot of vehicles come in where customers did their own work and didn't get them put back together right. This cam doesn't like to sit back in there because these teeth, you want to switch to the other camera?
Which one?
The left.
Yes. You're there.
Is this in focus?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you look right across here, the teeth aren't lined up perfectly. And that's because of the spring-loaded portion. So as I put the bearing caps on this and tighten it down evenly, you'll see those gears start to line up as this gear starts to mesh with the other gear. Put a little WD in there. And this is like a necessary part of the job, but sometimes I feel like the labor guide doesn't show enough time to actually adjust the valves when you're doing head gaskets. It's like they just want you to pull the cylinder head off, replace the gasket, and put it back together. Because, I mean, this isn't an easy or quick process. It adds at least, like if I wasn't on camera and I was just doing it quickly, it would probably take me at least an hour. But in the vehicle, wait for that race car to go by. In the vehicle, it would take longer. So sometimes it's one of those things like, is the labor guide really showing that I adjust the valves? The procedure shows it, but I just don't know if labor represents.
See you later and have a great Easter.
Who?
Drew?
Okay, Drew. See you later. Have a good night. Now we have to torque that camshaft down. I don't know how loud this beep is in your ears, but if you're sensitive to high-pitched noises, it might be kind of loud.
It barely breaks into the yellow.
Someone with a hearing aid is yelling at us right now. Okay. And we get to do the same thing all over again. Now, because of the gear-to-gear system, this camshaft will rotate backwards or opposite of the front camshaft. I have to make sure that this bolt isn't going to hit anything. I may have to grab a shorter bolt. Just going to check real quick. Yeah, it's going to hit. We're going to just take that bolt out for the time being. Since everything's tightened up, we don't have to have that bolt in there. I believe the service manual tells you what length of bolt you need. So we'll leave it there. I'll measure this one. Wipe down this head surface. Where are my feeler gauges? I do wish that they had an easier way of performing this task. Like a feeler gauge that you just put in there and it expands and lets you know what the thickness is. Doubt that's going to happen. And most people, you know, if the engine didn't have an issue before and you weren't grinding any valves, then just putting it back together with the original shims would probably yield okay results. I mean, it ran fine before. It would probably run fine again. But since we're here, we want to do the job right. Okay, so that 13 does not fit there. Make sure a 12 does fit. I skipped the 12, went from an 11 to a 12. Yep, 12 fits. Where's my marker? So that's going to be a 12. And I leave my marks on there. I don't wipe them off before I put the engine back together. That way, for some reason, if I ever have to take it apart again, I know that that task was performed. Or if for some reason down the road, somebody takes it apart and they're like, oh, well, they probably didn't adjust the valves. They see my measurements. They see the work that I did. You can't see it when it's fully assembled, but if they take it apart, they can see it. That one's kind of loose. Spec for the exhaust is 11 to 14, and I'm already at a 15 on that cylinder, or that valve. 16. 17 does not fit. So we're at a 16. And the reason they give you such a wide tolerance, on the older ones that had adjustable valves, they would say like 7 and 11 for like the 22RE. They don't give you a range because it's adjustable with a screw. This, they give you the range because they know that you're going to have issues with the shims. The shims aren't incremental enough to give you exactly the spec you need. Let's rotate this over. Hopefully neither one of these are a 17 or 16. Nope. This is the process where you don't want to have a bunch of people asking you questions and forget where you left off.
Notice how quiet I'm being?
I mean, I've done so many of them that it's just kind of like autopilot for me. This is where I like the go, no go gauges, because I could skip 2 feeler gauges at once if both of them fit. Let's see.
I think even the chat knows that you need to focus. Nobody's saying anything.
No, they all just quit watching me. They all fell asleep.
We should have done this later so then people could watch this to fall asleep to.
But then I would have been falling asleep as well. I was having a hard time driving back to town.
Yeah, Chad rolled down all the windows and it was like a tornado. Holy smokes.
Yeah, otherwise I was starting to fall asleep.
I thought I was going to rip the bun off my head.
Okay, 16 doesn't fit, 16 doesn't fit, the 15 did, so both of those are at 15. Since I'm just 1/1000ths over, those are going to be kind of hard to find the shim if it's in that same range where we're missing the shims. And then I was going to go home last night and play video games, but the game just doesn't run as good on my laptop as it does on the desktop, so we watched Netflix instead.
What did we end up watching? I already forgot.
I don't know. Did I fall asleep watching it?
Did I fall asleep? I picked it. What the heck did we watch?
I cannot remember what you picked. I do remember what the lady's name was from the Mesa Arch. It was Sandy.
Yeah, you remembered out of nowhere. He's just like, oh yeah, Sandy. What?
You know, I saw it was one of the trucks at the stoplight. It was covered in mud. I'm like, well, that's like really sandy mud. I'm
Muddy?
like, oh.
Was her name Muddy? Dirt clod. Where's the Diet Pepsi at? Davey.
Diet Pepsi. I got Sierra Mist.
Call of Duty? Question mark.
I pre-purchased Final Fantasy VII a while ago, and I think it's available now. So I may play that. Okay, this one of 14 doesn't fit, so that's going to be a 13. So that one is in spec, luckily.
Glad you showed the scissor gear. I've also had to correct a few of those. Grant Baker.
Yeah, it's really weird. I don't know why they don't put the mark on the part of the gear that's actually pinned to the camshaft instead of on the spring-loaded portion. Okay, so that one's a 14. So we have one that's a 16 and two that are 15s. So we got 3 of them there. It'll be easier for me just to pull the camshaft back out. I will have to repin that gear.
And then Angel commented in all capital letters, Ozark. Is that a boy thing? What is that?
No, we weren't watching Ozark.
Oh, the TV show.
It was Nurse Jackie.
Oh, yeah. Nurse Jackie. It's an okay show. I've watched Ozark. I haven't started the newest season, so no spoilers.
You watched all of Nurse Jackie before, didn't you?
I think I've watched that series twice. This is my 3rd time watching it. But I have a really bad memory, so it's still very surprising. What graphic card do you have in your PC?
Me?
Yeah, Pico's asking.
I think it's a RTX 2070.
Final Fantasy VII came out yesterday.
Yeah, I'm already behind. Dang it.
That was Pico. Is that what Deb was playing? Did you see that post on Facebook?
Who?
DeFazio. Mrs. DeFazio?
Oh, no, I didn't see that post.
I'm not sure what game she was playing. I want to say that's what she had on her screen.
I mean, it is like one of the classic RPG games.
It didn't look...
I don't necessarily like the way the controls are on the remake, but I'll still play it.
I was too spoiled with 14. I don't think I could go back to anything that's like... I don't know. I didn't like the setup of the 7.
Okay, we have one that's a 16. Let me pop this one out. This would be my number one concern. If I can't get the other ones adjusted and they're at 15, that'll probably be all right. It might be a little noisy, but I can live with that because the vehicle itself is noisy. I'll have to do rear end bearings on it too.
Are you sure? Any noise that a vehicle makes, he gets so annoyed. I don't even hear him until you mention it.
Okay, this one's a 115, of course, which means I don't have a whole lot of options. Where'd my Sharpie go? 115. Where'd I put my stack of 115s? So to close the gap, minimum of 2000s, maximum of, is there 3 difference there? So 2 to 5. So I need a 118 or a 120. Can we do that? Let's see what this one is. That's a 120. Dropped it in there.
And everybody in the crowd gasps.
No! These are a 15, so I need to drop 1 minimum. I'm hoping these are not a 115.
Listening for noises. That's his job, LOL. He's pretty good at it. Your mom?
Of course. This one's just over 115. 115.6. Or 1156. I don't think I'm going to have one that will I can try this one. No, I'd rather leave it. I'll leave it loose. Maybe we'll get lucky and the next one will be the shim we need to get it 100% correct. Come on, come on. Oh, it is. It's a 117. So, I dropped my stuff. We can pull this one back out. Pop the shim out. This was a 115. We're going to drop in the 117. This one had a 117, so we could probably put the last 120 I have in and drop that one down to a 12, which is still in our spec of 11 to 14. So we got lucky. As long as we put the camshaft in and everything lines up like it's supposed to.
All of that went right over my head. But it was really relaxing to watch.
I don't know if my excitement of having the right shim somewhere else in the head, you know, amped you guys up or not.
Yes.
But I love it when I can just move shims around
Me
and
too.
get the vehicle into spec. We'll at least get done with this cylinder head.
Are you going to show us you putting it back in the vehicle when
Yeah.
everything's done?
Yeah, probably tomorrow, because I got some more cleanup to do.
So does that mean you're going to be gaming at the shop or you're going to be gaming from your laptop?
It might mean we're playing from the PlayStation.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, that's an option. Download it on your phone.
I thought Mario said there was a Call of Duty on his phone. He wasn't sure if it was the same version or not.
Is there like a special controller you can buy then? Like you pop it in your phone or something?
I think you use your phone as the controller, but I'm not sure. I haven't played that way.
Interesting. There's not enough space on my phone. I've got too many pictures for work. And YouTube videos.
Yeah, they're all over on my phone too since you use my tablet.
They go to your phone?
Yep.
Well,
I mean, they're all on iTunes or the iCloud.
But isn't the iCloud like infinity?
Yeah, but it still shows up on my phone. So like I have to scroll through like 100 photos to find what I need. Because there's all these random photos of your clothing that you're listing or your video stuff.
I didn't know that. You're putting Pico to sleep.
With the beep
I don't know.
or my boringness.
Do something exciting.
Drop another part in here. Okay.
Kevin says, hey.
Hey, how's it going? Which Kevin?
Kevin. Oh. Kevin Owens.
Oh.
Orville says, yeah, you got it back. Pico would like to see you dance.
See me dance? I don't dance.
I've seen you dance before. It's more of a hop. From one foot to the other.
Was I on burning my feet on coals or something? That's how I walk too. Hop from one foot to the other.
You do have a very distinctive walk.
Can't help it. You're gonna make fun of me for it.
I remember back in the day when you were graduating high school. Didn't even have to say your name. I knew it was you. Like you were far away in the field, but I knew it was you by your walk.
Because of my head size.
Yeah. I could just see your face. Because it's so big. Just kidding. I think you're perfect.
I can't do that
Shim
one.
dance. Shimmy dance. Do you know what a shimmy is?
A shimmy?
Yeah, the dance move.
Yeah, my camera will probably fall off if I tried it. Okay, an 11 fit, but a 12 didn't. So that one's on 11. This one, the 12 fit. 13 fit. Okay, this is not working out as planned. Oh, no, we're 14. Just in spec. Whew, close one. Now we got one more to measure on this head.
I really enjoy your channel. I can't believe you don't have more subscribers. Orville.
Well,
How many subscribers do you have?
I think we're like 5,700.
Yeah, that's about what I have too. I think mine's slowly going down.
You know, this has been a weird month for YouTube.
Consistent.
YouTube's playing some weird games out there.
Yeah, it is. It's weird. I heard you talking about it with like your automotive people, and then people like in the reseller YouTube community. It's the same thing going on.
Like, people aren't getting notifications. People
Getting unsubscribed.
people are getting automatically unsubscribed from channels that they thought they were subscribed to. Okay, that one is at a 9, so we are still in spec. Oops.
Your mom says you're perfect. Oh, thank you for the masks. They are very nice. I have mine here with me.
Yep, my mom is making face masks since they are unavailable in most places. Okay, everything's in spec. The exhaust is kind of all over the place. We have some at the maximum, one at the minimum. I'm going to repin the gear. We can take the camshafts out, and this cylinder head is ready for installation.
How long does it take to install it?
I'd have to clean the block up a little bit. I have to. Did you switch cameras?
Oh, no, I'm still on your head.
Okay. I have to take all the gasket material off of here. I normally use sand plate paper on a block to run across that and make sure there's no debris left on it. I would say use a roll-lock disc, but people are against that.
Question?
Yes.
So, like, how come you have to take that other piece to the machine shop and it has to be precise, but with this other thing, you just take your sandpaper and go at it?
Because this piece is less likely to warp than that piece over there. This is all cast iron, so it doesn't move as much when it's warm. It doesn't expand as much as the aluminum. And it's a bigger piece of metal, and everything's kind of tied together, so it has a less chance of this warping than this piece. This small piece, as it gets hot and cold, and it can distort over time.
I see. And Kevin says she hooked us all up. Thanks, Karen.
I keep thinking it's Kevin Eckler, Kevin Owens.
Yeah. And then Angel has a question.
Yes.
Chad, you marked the last one as a 9, but your minimum spec is 11?
Good eye. I messed up.
See, good thing at least one of us is paying attention.
Yeah. I was looking at my 9 over here for my intake. Let me double check it just to make sure that it's off. But you are absolutely right, Angel. Good catch.
You win a prize.
What's the prize?
A private dance of you.
Let me double check. Make sure it is a 9. It is a 9. Okay, I was wrong. Minimum is an 11. Glad somebody was paying attention, because I wasn't. I was thinking about video games. So, since we have just the one, use the special tool. Pop this one out. I got a feeling this is going to need the shim that I don't have.
So what would have happened if Angel didn't catch that mistake?
this valve would be tight, and potentially over time the valve could get damaged. So that was a 305.
Good catch, Angel. That is from Christopher, friend.
Let's see.
I always think any Christopher is my brother, since he has 6 accounts.
Yep, I was not paying attention. See, I'm used to the, I think the 3-liter ones go all the way down to 9.
I'm sure Chad would have caught it when reassembling Angel.
I do like to double check them after I torque them. But I could have been lazy and not done it. 13. Well, I think that one was originally a 16. The 15, I have to kind of force it in there, so we're probably at like 14 and a half. I'm going to say that that's better than being at 9 and being too tight. Okay, now we're good. Luckily, somebody was paying attention. Should I double check my work? 6 to 9 on the intake. Yeah, those are all good. 11 to 14 on the exhaust. And we are good there. Good catch. I had short timer syndrome. Sorry, I'm not spinning around to make you guys dizzy. I just tangled myself up.
This is his dance.
This is my dance. I have 2 left feet. That made myself dizzy.
Made me dizzy watching it.
Okay, any questions on adjusting the valves? I'm going to take the camera off.
You're on main Lumix.
I know that if you haven't worked on a vehicle that has shims, that process seems kind of foreign to you. It makes sense to me. I've done a lot of them, of just doing it in my head like that. When I don't screw up, good thing Angel caught me. Let me show you the Toyota chart for selecting the shim. I'm going to jump behind the computer with Valerie, and I'll show you that chart.
You gotta jump.
I'm going to jump.
Or you want me to squeeze this away or that away?
You can go that way.
You want to sit on the chair with me?
I don't know if we'll have enough room there.
What are you trying to say?
Okay, let me pull up.
Do we need to mute one of our mics since we have both of them right here next to each other?
Maybe. I'll just turn mine down. And then... Okay, make sure you guys can still hear me. This is the factory Toyota chart. I'll just zoom in. I just want to show you how big the chart is. So let me zoom in a little bit. And this is specific for the intakes. They have a different chart for the exhaust. So at the top of the chart is our measured clearance. So we'd have to... Checking for echo?
No, I'm just making sure you had audio still.
So this is the measurement that we measured on the vehicle. So we go across and find, okay, we had 15 thousandths. So that chart we would follow down, and we'd have to measure our shim. And once we measure the shim, we find it over here, and then we come across to where it meets, and it tells us that the correct shim to fix the issue is shim number 9. So then at the bottom corner of the chart, shim number 9 is a 2.9 millimeter or a 114.2 in SAE. So it's hard to look at. There's just a lot of numbers. I'm surprised that they don't have a calculator for this, but this is out of the Toyota service manual. If you printed this out, you would not be able to read it. The numbers just kind of merge together. Let me go to 100%. I mean, it's tiny.
You have to print it out like a poster.
Yeah.
Poster size.
So that's why I don't necessarily do this method. You could do this method, and it would tell you exactly what shim you need, especially if you are ordering shims. But I prefer my method.
Yeah, that's crazy.
We got Free Willy still. Valerie gets to pick her own background sometimes. Let me open up the chat so I can see what's happening. Well, at least it's not confusing. Yeah, that chart is. I don't like the chart. The chart is accurate and it works. It's just kind of a pain to use. I like to just do the math in my head of how many thousands I need to remove from the shim to get to the correct spec. But if it's something that you haven't done it before and you're trying to figure out what way to go with the shims, it might be better to actually use the chart and get an idea of, okay, to drop my number on my clearance, I need to thicken the shim and get in the range that way. That'd be my recommendation. I think we'll end this one for tonight because the next cylinder head is going to be very repetitive, the exact same process of this one. We'll get that taken care of. I'm going to clean up a few more parts, and then tomorrow we'll probably start earlier in the day. The weather's supposed to turn bad tonight, so we won't be able to do anything outside. We'll probably start earlier in the day and begin the assembly process. So if you were in here watching, I appreciate it. I'm not sure exactly what time we'll start tomorrow, but I know it's going to take me 4 or 5 hours to put it back together. So we'll start earlier in the day so it's not midnight before I have to tear all this stuff down so we can start work on Monday. And thanks for coming by, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.